had a car accident and broke my hand. My husband said he would use the prize money to hold an art exhibition for me. On the opening day, I was pushed into a corner by the crowd and heard him say to the reporter, "Dedicated to my goddess, thank you for never leaving me during my darkest times." I saw him holding his junioress hand, gazing deeply into her eyes. I took off my wedding ring, placed it on the front desk of the exhibition hall, and turned to leave. On the opening day, Lu Yangju stood under the spotlight and said to the reporter, "This exhibition is dedicated to my goddess. Thank you for never leaving me during my darkest times." As the applause rang out, I was pushed by the crowd to the farthest corner of the exhibition hall. Someone bumped into my right hand. That hand was wearing a light grey wrist guard. The wound inside had long healed, but whenever it rained or was bumped, it felt like tiny needles were drilling into the bone. I instinctively covered my wrist and looked up at the main exhibition wall. Lu Yangju, dressed in a black suit, stood in front of a huge oil painting. In the painting, a woman stood in the shattered light of glass, her wrist drooping, but a thin beam of light growing from her fingertips. That was my composition. 3 months after the car accident, unable to sleep because of the pain in my right hand, I had drawn the first rough sketch with my left hand, crooked and uneven at that time. Lu Yangju sat by my hospital bed, red-eyed, and said, "Wantang, once I get the Youth Art Support Grant this time, I'll hold a comeback exhibition for you. I want everyone to know that your hand isn't ruined. You just paused for a while." I believed him. I even told him the password to my old sketchbox. I thought that was the last bit of security between a husband and wife, but now, that painting hung in the center of the exhibition hall. The signature read, "Shen Ruowei." The reporter handed the microphone to Lu Yangju. "Mr. Lu, I heard this exhibition was originally related to your wife. Is she here today?" Lu Yangju's gaze swept through the crowd quickly, so quickly it was like accidentally glancing at an old coat. He didn't call my name, he just smiled and said, "She's not in good health and isn't really suited for this kind of occasion. The person who should truly be standing here today is Ruowei." Shen Ruowei stood beside him, wearing a white dress, her eyes slightly red, as if moved to speechlessness by this deep affection. She gently tugged at Lu Yangju's sleeve and whispered, "Senior brother, don't say that, sister-in-law might misunderstand." Lu Yangju looked down at her. That look, I had seen it before. He had looked at me the same way when he won his first award that year. We were still living in a 30-square-meter rental apartment. I stayed up all night helping him revise his exhibition proposal. He had a fever, his hands were shaking, and he couldn't even move the painting frame. I carried the frame on my back, accompanying him from the south end of town to the north. Later, when he won the award, no one in the audience knew who I was, but the first thing he did when he came off stage was hug me and say, "Wantang, without you, I wouldn't be where I am today." Now he said something similar again, only this time the target was Shen Ruowei. The reporter pressed on. "So, Miss Shen is your muse?" Lu Yangju smiled. He said, "More than a muse. She is the only one who never left me during my darkest times." The crowd let out low gasps of admiration. Shen Ruowei's face turned even redder. I stood in the corner and suddenly found it all very funny. I had never left him during his darkest times. I had been the one to endure his darkness with him. When his first exhibition went unnoticed, it was my savings that rented the small venue. When his mentor criticized his style as shallow, it was my notes and sketchbooks I gave him. When his mother needed money for surgery, it was my first collectible painting I sold. When he was at his poorest, unable to even afford paint, it was my own advanced course I cancelled to send him the money. The day of my car accident, I wasn't out doing something for myself, I was delivering the final version of his competition materials for him that day. It was raining heavily. He urged me urgently over the phone, "Wantang, if we're any later, we'll miss the deadline, help me. Just this once." I helped. The car was rear-ended on the overpass. My right hand was crushed by the shattered window, blood pooling everywhere. When I woke up, the doctor said the nerve damage in my wrist was severe, and fine motor control might never fully recover. Lu Yangju knelt by my hospital bed and cried. He said, "Wantang, I owe you a lifetime." It turns out a lifetime is so short enough for him to use my injury to hold an exhibition dedicated to someone else. I turned and walked toward the front desk. The staff was organizing the guest sign-in book. When they saw me, they paused. "Teacher Lin, why are you over here? Teacher Lu just said you weren't feeling well and wouldn't be attending." I reached my left hand to my right ring finger. The ring was a bit tight. Over the years, I had gained and lost weight, softened my heart, endured grievances, but I had always worn this ring. I pulled it off with some effort. The knuckle was rubbed red. The moment the ring left my skin, I wasn't as hurt as I'd imagined. I placed the ring on the transparent tray at the front desk. "Please register it." The staff didn't react in time. "Register what?" "Lost item," I said. "Owner Lin Wantang, originally belonging to Mrs. Lu, not wanted anymore." Her face changed. "Teacher Lin, this." I grabbed the sticky note beside me and wrote the date, time, and location with my left hand. The handwriting was crooked, but every stroke was clear. I looked up again at the surveillance camera above the exhibition hall. Good. The front desk, the main wall, the interview area, all captured. The staff lowered her voice. "Should I notify Teacher Lu?" "No need." I pushed the sticky note toward her, my voice flat. "He's busy thanking his goddess today. No need to disturb." As I walked out of the exhibition hall, another burst of applause erupted behind me. This time, the reporters were asking Lu Yangju and Shun Ruowei to stand in front of the painting for a photo. The lights were bright. They stood close together. I stood outside the glass door, watching Shun Ruowei tilt her head toward Lu Yangju. Like a couple receiving blessings at a wedding, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Lu Yangju. "Are you here? If you are, don't wander off. It's crowded today. Don't cause me trouble." I stared at the line of text and smiled. So he knew I was coming. He just thought I'd be like every other time, standing in a corner, quietly waiting for him to finish. I didn't reply. I opened my camera and took a photo of the giant poster at the exhibition hall entrance. The poster title was Hand of Rebirth. Below it, in small print, curator, Lu Yangju. Special guest artist, Shun Ruowei. Inspiration, love and companionship. I stared at the words inspiration for a long time, then I sent the photo to Xu Ning. Xu Ning was my college classmate, now a lawyer specializing in intellectual property. I only sent one line. "Can you still do that copyright preservation you mentioned last time?" She replied quickly. "Yes." "Have you finally made up your mind?" I looked up at the gloomy sky. My right hand started to ache again, but this time, I didn't cover it. I replied to Xu Ning, "Yeah, starting today. I'm not hurting for anyone else." A taxi pulled up at the curb as I got in. The driver asked, "Where to?" I said, "The studio." It was the studio Lu Yangju and I had rented together. It was also where all my old drafts, original works, and copies of medical records were stored. Outside the window, the exhibition hall was brightly lit. Less than 5 minutes after I left, my phone started buzzing wildly. Lu Yangju called. I didn't answer. He sent another message. "Lin Wanting, what do you mean? The front desk said you left the ring. Are you making a scene on a day like this?" I watched the screen light up and then go dark. The last message was from Shun Ruowei. She sent a photo. In the photo, she stood in front of my painting, with Lu Yangju adjusting the shawl on her shoulder. The caption was just one line: "Sister-in-law, senior brother just cares too much about this exhibition. Don't misunderstand." I turned off my phone. The city's reflection fell on the glass outside the window, and I saw my own face, very pale, but my eyes were clear. I knew, from this moment on, I couldn't just be a betrayed wife. I had to first figure out how much Lu Yangju had taken from me. The studio was on the 3rd floor of an old factory building. The elevator was broken, so I had to climb the stairs one by one. In the past, Lu Yangju used to carry me up these stairs. Back when my right hand was first injured, he carried me up every day, saying, "Wantang, when you're better, we'll turn this place into your personal exhibition hall." Then he got busy with cocktail parties, busy introducing Shun Ruowei to curators, busy telling me, "What you need most now is rest. Don't keep thinking about painting." I rested for a long time. So long I almost forgot that the cabinet at the back of the studio was one I bought myself. There were only 2 keys, one with me, one with Lu Yangju. As soon as the door opened, I smelled the familiar scent of turpentine. The easels, canvases, paints, and old sofa were all still in their places, but my draft cabinet had been rifled through. The lock wasn't broken, but there were fine scratches on the edges. I crouched down and pulled open the drawer with my left hand. The first layer was still there, the second layer too. The third layer was half empty. I stopped breathing. That layer held my series of drafts from after the car accident. Cracked window, light in the wrist, spring that never came, hand of rebirth. Among them, the original draft of *rebirth of the hand is missing. When I stood up, my right hand accidentally hit the corner of the table, the pain making everything go dark for a second. I gripped the edge of the table and slowly steadied myself. My phone rang again. This time, I answered. Lu Yenzhou's voice was low. Where are you? The studio. There was a second of silence on the other end. What are you doing there? I looked at the ransacked drawer, looking for my stuff. He let out a breath, as if relieved, then quickly grew impatient. Lin Wanting, you really crossed the line today. Ruowei has been crying for half an hour, and the reporters are asking about the ring. Do you have any idea how much trouble you've caused me? I laughed. Trouble with your goddess worship. His voice dropped. Do you have to be so sarcastic? That was just media talk. Ruowei is a key collaborator for this exhibition. Of course I had to give her face. And what about me? You, he sounded annoyed by my question. Wantang, you're in no shape to be on stage right now. People would just keep asking about your injury. Aren't you the one who hates pity the most? I was protecting you. Protecting, that word, coming from his mouth, felt so light. I pulled out the computer chair and sat down, turning on the old laptop. So your way of protecting me is to hang my composition on the main wall and credit it to Shun Ruowei. The line went dead quiet for a moment, then Lu Yangju said, that's not your work, it just borrowed a few ideas from your old stuff. Borrowed to the point of having the same title, Lin Wanting. He finally lost it. Can you stop acting like you're so important? Art creation is always about mutual influence. After your accident, you couldn't paint anymore. Ruowei was the one who helped me finish this series. Without her, those ideas would have just rotted in your drawer. I opened the backup hard drive on the computer. The folder was still there after the car crash. My right hand couldn't paint, so I used voice recordings to capture inspiration and had software transcribe them into text. Every record had a creation timestamp. I copied them out one by one. So you admit those ideas were originally in my drawer? Lu Yangju fell silent again. I heard someone talking on his end. It was Shun Ruowei's voice. Senior, don't argue with your wife. It's all my fault. Her voice wasn't loud, but it was just enough for me to hear. Lu Yangju immediately softened his tone. Ruowei, don't worry about it. Suddenly, I felt exhausted, not sad, just that kind of fatigue you get when you finally see through a scam and can't be bothered to play along anymore. I hung up in less than 2 minutes. Lu Yangju called again. I blocked him outright, then I sent Shuning 3 folders. These are the original scans, voice recordings, and digital creation logs. Shuning replied quickly. Keep the original devices safe. Don't let Lu Yangju touch them. Also, can you find the grant application? If he said the grant was for your exhibition but actually used it for Shun Ruowei's commercial show, there's room for breach of contract and fraud. I remembered the blue file folder on the top shelf of the bookcase. That was the document Lu Yangju had me sign when he got the grant. He said it was just for the gallery's records. I stood on my tiptoes to reach it. My right hand couldn't exert any force, so I had to use my left hand to slowly hook the folder down. Inside were a copy of the contract, the budget sheet, and the exhibition proposal. When I flipped to the second page, my finger stopped. Project name, asterisk after the broken hand, Lin Wantang's personal comeback exhibition asterisk, applicant, Lu Yangju. Project description. This exhibition aims to help young painter Lin Wantang overcome the shadow of her car accident and rebuild her creative confidence. I stared at those lines, my throat tightening as if something was stuck. He used my name, my injury, my medical records, my story, to apply for a 30,000 yuan support grant. Then he took that money and put on an exhibition dedicated to Shun Ruowei. What made it even more ironic was that the budget sheet also had an item, Lin Wantang Rehabilitation Assisted Creation Device, cost 50,000 yuan. I'd never seen any such device, but the diamond necklace Shun Ruowei was wearing today, that was about 50,000 yuan. Suddenly, footsteps came from outside the door. I looked up. Lu Yangju pushed the door open. his face dark. He must have come straight from the exhibition hall, still in his suit, tie loosened, anger burning in his eyes. Lin wanting, what the hell are you trying to do? I closed the file folder, taking back what's mine. He glanced at the documents on the table and immediately lunged to grab them. I stepped back. Don't touch me. He stopped, looking at me like I was a stranger. When did you become like this? It's just a small thing. Do you have to blow it out of proportion? I countered. My paintings are signed with someone else's name. My comeback exhibition becomes your gift to your junior sister, and my prize money goes missing. You call that a small matter? Lu Yangju frowned. You can't paint now, and the exhibition resources would just go to waste if left idle. Ruowei is young and talented. What's wrong with giving her a push? Besides, I haven't abandoned you. Once this exhibition is over, I'll arrange a small sharing session for you. A small sharing session. I laughed out loud. Lu Yangju, I'm your wife, not the leftover scraps after your exhibition ends. His face darkened. Don't make it sound so harsh. We're husband and wife. Isn't my success also your success? Then why isn't my work signed with my name? When I asked that, he finally had no answer. A soft knock came from the door. Shen Ruowei stood there. Her eyes were red, and she held the opening bouquet in her hands. Sister-in-law, I just wanted to come and explain. That painting was guided by my senior brother, and I didn't know your ideas were in it. If you mind, I can mention in an interview that you also gave us inspiration. I looked at her. The way she said mention felt like charity. Lu Yangju immediately stepped in front of her. Ruowei is already upset enough. What more do you want? I didn't look at him. I only stared at the necklace around Shen Ruowei's neck. Is that necklace pretty? She froze. Lu Yangju's face changed. Shen Ruowei instinctively touched the necklace. This is the opening gift my senior brother gave me. I nodded. Bought with the money from Lin Wantang's Rehabilitation Assistive Device Fund. Shen Ruowei's face went pale instantly. Lu Yangju snapped. You're checking up on me. I'm checking up on my own prize money. I pushed the budget sheet to the center of the table. Lu Yangju, you'd better start thinking carefully right now. Every cent, every draft, every signature. How are you going to explain them? He stared at me, his expression shifting from anger to disbelief. He probably never imagined I would talk to him like this. The old Lin Wantang was too easy to appease when he said he was busy. I waited when he said it was hard. I helped when he said she was just a junior sister. I endured when he said my hand needed rest. I put down the brush, but now, looking at him, I only felt absurd. Shen Ruowei suddenly started crying. Sister-in-law, do you think I've stolen your place? But I just feel sorry for my senior brother. These past 6 months have been so hard for him. After your injury, your temper got bad, and he's been under so much pressure every day. I cut her off. I broke my hand in a car accident, and that makes me the one pressuring him. She choked. Lu Yangju said coldly. Enough. You're emotionally unstable today. I'm not going to argue with you. Leave the documents, and go home. I hugged the file bag to my chest. This is my evidence. He reached out and grabbed my left wrist. Lin wanting. Don't push me. My right hand hurt, and my left hand was the only one I could still use steadily now. His grip was strong. I looked up at him. Let go. He didn't. The next second, a calm female voice sounded from outside the studio door. Mr. Lu, I suggest you let go. Shu Ning stood at the doorway, phone in hand. I've been on a video call since you walked in. Your actions, grabbing the documents, restricting her movement, physically handling her, will all become evidence later. Lu Yangju abruptly let go. He looked at me, finally realizing I wasn't having a temporary breakdown. I had started waking up the moment I took off that ring in the exhibition hall. Lu Yangju didn't try to grab the documents again that day. He just stood in the studio, staring at me intently. Lin wanting, you'll regret this. I handed the file bag to Shu Ning. My biggest regret is that I started too late. Shu Ning drove me away on the road. She asked, where are you staying tonight? I paused. I couldn't go back to the marital home with Lu Yangju. Too many of his things were there, and too much evidence of my past softness. I said, a hotel. Shu Ning frowned. Don't you still have a small apartment under your name? I was stunned. That apartment was bought before marriage, small, but with good lighting. After we got married, Lu Yangju said it was too far to take care of his mother, so I moved into the marital home. The apartment had been empty ever since. With the key in my studio drawer, I had almost forgotten. It turned out I wasn't without a fallback. It was me, over the years, who had given up every retreat to Lu Yangju. Shu Ning dropped me off at the apartment building before leaving. She said, "Tomorrow, I'll help you make an evidence list. Tonight, don't answer Lu Yangju's calls. Don't let him set the narrative." I nod. But Lu Yangju didn't call. It was my mother-in-law who called. The moment the call connected, she snapped without preamble, "Lin Wantong, have you no shame? Yangju finally managed to hold an exhibition, and you go and take off your ring. Do you want the whole world to see the Lu family's disgrace?" I turned on the apartment light. The place was a bit dusty, but the moonlight outside was beautiful. "Mom, if you called just to scold me, I'm hanging up. How dare you?" Her voice was shrill. "I'm telling you, tomorrow night's family dinner, you will be there. In front of all the relatives, you will apologize to Yangju and Ruowei. That girl's eyes are swollen from crying, a young lady like her, and you've pushed her to this state." I put my phone on the table and switched it to speaker. "Why should I apologize to her? Because you are the Lu family's daughter-in-law. Because Yangju is in the prime of his career and can't afford your nonsense." Listening to those familiar words, I suddenly remembered years ago, the first time Lu Yangju was going to participate in the provincial exhibition. My mother-in-law said the same thing. "Wantong, Yangju's career is taking off. He can't afford distractions. You'll have to handle the household chores." Later, handling things became a habit. When his mother was hospitalized, I handled it. When his father's investment failed, I handled it. When his brother needed a down payment for a house, I handled it. I handled it all until my hand was broken, and they still thought I should put Lu Yangju's dignity first. I said, "Fine, I'll go." My mother-in-law snorted coldly. "That's more like it. 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Don't be late, and put that ring back on. Don't let the relatives see discord between you and your husband." I looked at my empty ring finger. "The ring isn't with me." "Then go get it back." I didn't answer. I just hung up. The next evening, I went to the Lu family home. I wasn't wearing the ring. I also wasn't wearing the light-colored dress my mother-in-law had bought me before. I wore all black, with a loose cuff over the wrist guard on my right hand, and carried a file folder in my left. The moment I walked in, over a dozen pairs of eyes in the living room fixed on me. My mother-in-law sat in the main seat, her face sour. Lu Yangju sat beside her, and Shen Ruowei was there too. She was dressed very plainly, her eyes red, as if she had suffered a great injustice. When Lu Yangju saw me, his brow furrowed. "Why are you dressed like that?" I said. "It's convenient for getting things done." My mother-in-law slammed the table. "Look at your attitude. Wantong, you weren't like this before. You used to be so sensible, so devoted to the family. What's gotten into you now?" I pulled out a chair and sat down. Before, my hand wasn't broken. I thought if I just endured, things would settle down. Lu Yangju's face darkened. "Do you have to keep bringing up the car accident?" I looked at him. "You're the ones who put my car accident on the grant application." The dinner table went silent. Shen Ruowei lowered her head. My mother-in-law pretended not to understand. "What grant? Don't change the subject. We called you here today to apologize to Ruowei. The girl was kind enough to help Yangju with his exhibition. And you threw a tantrum in the gallery, tossing your wedding ring at the front desk. Do you know what people are saying about Yangju now?" "What are they saying?" Lu Yangju said coldly. "They're saying I'm having an affair, that Ruowei is the other woman, that the exhibition's artwork signatures are problematic. Isn't this all you're doing?" I took out my phone and opened an interview video. In the video, Lu Yangju stood next to Shen Ruowei, saying it clearly, "This exhibition is dedicated to my goddess." I turned off the video. "Did I say those words for you?" He choked. My mother-in-law immediately said, "Men have to talk smoothly when socializing. What's wrong with a little praise? Ruowei is young. She helped him a lot. A few nice words won't cost you a pound of flesh." I laughed. I didn't lose any flesh, but I almost lost my hand. This time, no one spoke. Lu Yangju tugged at his collar in irritation. "Lin Wantong, what do you want? If you want compensation, I can give it to you. If you want your own solo exhibition, I'll arrange it later. But don't ruin Ruowei at this critical moment. She's just starting out. She can't take a hit. She can't take a hit." so she can take credit for my work. That painting isn't yours." His voice suddenly rose. "You only had a rough draft. The one who actually finished it was Ruowei." I pulled the first sheet of paper from my file folder. It was a bank transfer record from years ago. "Lu Yangju, let's not talk about the painting first." I placed the paper on the Lazy Susan and slowly spun it in front of my mother-in-law. "This is the money I transferred to the Lu family over 6 years of marriage. 26,000 for your mother's surgery, 45,000 for your brother's house down payment, 18,000 to pay off your father's debts, and 12,000 for the venue of your first solo exhibition. Total, 137,000. The mother-in-law's face changed color. "What are you bringing these out for?" "Keeping such a clear account within the family. Before, we were family, so I didn't keep count." I pulled out a second sheet. "This is the transaction history of Lu Yenzhou's painting income going into his personal account over the past few years. Every time he told me his income was unstable and asked me to be understanding, but he spent a total of 730,000 yuan on buying necklaces for Shen Ruowei, booking hotels, and renting an apartment." Shen Ruowei's head shot up. "Sister-in-law, don't talk nonsense. That apartment was for me to use as a temporary studio by senior brother." I looked at Lu Yangju. "Her temporary studio needs a double bed." Lu Yenzhou's face turned ashen. "You've been thorough in your investigation, not as thorough as you've been in your spending." The mother-in-law finally panicked. "Yangju, what's going on here?" Lu Yangju didn't answer. Shen Ruowei's tears started falling again. "I didn't know that money was sister-in-law's," senior brother said. "Your relationship had long gone cold, that sister-in-law was paranoid because of her hand injury, that he just felt sorry for me having no place to create." I listened to her absolve herself completely, then suddenly asked, "Shen Ruowei, you said you have no place to create." She nodded, sobbing. "Then how did you get the drafts from the third drawer of my studio?" The tears on her face froze. The air at the dinner table felt frozen solid. Lu Yangju stood up. "Enough." I looked up at him. "Not yet." I pushed out the last file. "Starting today, I'm revoking the joint account authorization. I will no longer pay for any medical expenses, loans, or living costs for anyone in the Lu family. I will move out all my original works and art supplies from the studio. Lu Yangju, if you want to promote Shen Ruowei, go ahead. Use your own money, your own work, your own reputation." The mother-in-law shrieked. "Lin Wantang, you're trying to destroy our family." I looked at her calmly. "I'm just taking you off my back." At that moment, Lu Yangju was no longer just angry. For the first time, I saw panic in his eyes, because he knew I wasn't throwing a tantrum. I was truly done giving. After leaving the Lu family home, I went straight to the hospital, not because I was upset, but because my right hand was hurting badly. In the follow-up clinic, the doctor checked my grip strength and fingertip reflexes, then lowered his head to write on the report, "Better than last month." I was stunned. "Better?" The doctor looked up at me. "Have you started practicing recently?" I nodded. "Actually, I practiced very little, just occasionally. When I woke up in pain at night, I'd use my left hand to guide my right, drawing a few lines on paper. The lines were shaky, like grass in the wind." The doctor said, "Miss Lin, it's true that your hand will be hard to restore to its pre-accident state, but it's not completely impossible. Fine motor control can be trained. It'll just be slow and painful." I sat there, momentarily speechless. For the past year, Lu Yangju had always told me, "Wanteng, don't push yourself. The doctor said you're not suited for high-intensity creation anymore." I thought that was the doctor's opinion. It wasn't. The doctor flipped through the old records and suddenly said, "But your husband asked me a similar question before." I looked up. "When?" "About 3 months ago. He asked if your hand could ever recover to a professional painter's level." I said I couldn't guarantee it, but there was hope. He asked if too much pressure would affect your recovery. I said yes, so I suggested the family encourage you, but not make decisions for the patient. My fingertips went cold. 3 months ago was exactly when Lu Yangju started frequently taking Shen Ruowei to galleries. He knew I still had hope, yet he came home and told me, "The doctor said the most important thing for you now is to accept reality." I looked at the medical record and suddenly laughed. Accept reality. His version of reality was for me to accept being replaced. Seeing my expression, The doctor softened his tone. Miss Lin, you're still young. Many patients go through a psychological low after an injury, but don't rush to give up on yourself. I asked, Doctor, could you write me a complete rehabilitation assessment? Of course. When I got the assessment report, Xu Ning was already waiting for me in the hospital lobby. I told her what the doctor had said. Xu Ning's face turned cold. This medical record is very important. It proves that Lu Yangju knew you still had creative ability, yet he packaged it to the outside world as if you couldn't create, then transferred your creative concepts to Shen Ruowei. Can we sue them? Whether we can win depends on the chain of evidence, but at least we can do 3 things first. She held up her fingers. First, copyright registration and evidence preservation. Second, send lawyers' letters to the gallery and foundation, demanding a halt to the exhibition of the disputed works. Third, divorce property settlement, tracing the whereabouts of the prize money and joint assets. I nod. Do it. Xu Ning looks at me. Think it through. Once the letters go out, there's no turning back. Lu Yangju will burn all bridges. I raise my right hand. The scar under the wrist guard is long, stretching from the inside of my wrist all the way to the base of my palm. Xu Ning, this hand has already torn through for him once. My voice is soft. This time, it's his turn to hurt. That night, Xu Ning helps me organize the evidence. We sort all the materials into 4 categories. First category, evidence of work creation, original drafts, digital timestamps, voice creation records, old exhibition interviews, handwritten notes. Second category, financial evidence, grant application forms, budget sheets, transaction records, Shen Ruowei's necklace and apartment spending logs. Third category, evidence of marital betrayal, interview videos, hotel bills, rental contracts, Shen Ruowei's provocative photos. Fourth category, evidence of injury and deception, medical records, rehabilitation assessments, doctors' testimonies. I flip through page by page, suddenly realizing that over the years, I haven't left no trace. It's just that I never thought these traces would one day be used to prove myself. Xu Ning says, tomorrow, I'll handle the evidence preservation. You go see Sister Qin. Sister Qin is the gallery director for this exhibition. She's seen my work before. After my car accident, she visited me once, holding my hand and saying, wanting, don't rush, a truly vital artist won't be completely knocked down by an accident. Later, Lu Yangju told me that Sister Qin was disappointed in my condition and advised against me making public appearances. I believed him. Now I think about it, I believed too many second-hand words. The next morning, I meet Sister Qin in the gallery office. She looks surprised when she sees me. Wantang, what brings you here? Yangju said you've been emotionally unstable lately, and I was planning to visit you in a few days. I sit down across from her. Sister Qin, what else did he say? She frowns. He said you've been avoiding the public because of your hand injury. This exhibition was originally meant to include you, but you gave up halfway. Ruowei happened to be able to pick up this series, so the direction was adjusted. I don't rush to defend myself, I just lay out the original drafts one by one. Sister Qin is calm at first. By the third one, she sits up straight. By the 5th, she takes off her glasses. Finally, she picks up the original draft of ** Rebirth of the Hand * and stares at it for a long time. When did you paint this? 3 months after the accident. The final draft Ruowei submitted to us has almost the same composition. I know. I open my laptop and play the voice creation recording for her. It's my own voice after the accident. My voice is hoarse. This hand isn't death, it's just forced to stop halfway. I want to paint a woman standing in broken glass, not begging for help, but watching the light grow from inside her own body. Sister Qin's face completely changes. She stops the recording and asks me, does Yangju know about this? Of course he does. I look at her, because that day, he was the one who saved that recording for me. The office falls silent for a long time. Finally, Sister Qin says, if all this is true, the gallery must suspend the disputed works. I only ask for one thing, name it, don't negotiate privately with Lu Yangju, keep all communication in written records. Sister Qin looks at me, her eyes complex, wanting, you've changed. I say, not changed, just woken up. As I leave the gallery, I get a call from Lu Yangju this time. I answer, his voice is cold as ice. You went to see Sister Qin? Yeah, Lin Wanting. Are you trying to destroy me? I stand at the gallery entrance, looking at my reflection in the glass. Lu Yangju, I'm not destroying you, I say, word by word. I'm just taking back what you stole from me, piece by piece. Sister Qin moves faster than I expected. That afternoon, the gallery issues an internal notice, temporarily pulling the online promotional pages for *Rebirth of the Hand* and 3 other works in the same series, citing the need to further verify the attribution and source of creation. Less than 10 minutes after the notice goes out, Lu Yenzhou's calls blow up my phone. I don't answer. He starts sending voice messages, the first one barely containing his anger. Lin Wanting, are you satisfied now? The second message carried a threat. Do you know how many partners are behind this exhibition? If you keep making a scene, the compensation won't be a small amount. The third finally softened a bit. Wanting, let's meet and talk properly. Don't let that lawyer stir you up. We're husband and wife. After listening, I deleted them. Husband and wife, those 2 words used to be my weakness. Now they're just a legal relationship that needs to be settled. That evening, Xu Ning sent me the evidence preservation receipt. The core materials have been notarized. Even if he tries to delete records or alter files now, it's too late. I replied with a good. Just as I put down my phone, the doorbell rang. I looked through the peephole. Lu Yangju was standing outside. I didn't open the door. He rang the doorbell for a long time before finally speaking. Wanting, I know you're in there. I leaned against the door, silent. Let's talk. I still didn't say a word. His voice started controlled, then gradually grew impatient. What exactly do you want from me? Ruowei's already getting flack over there. She's just a young girl who doesn't know anything. Take it out on me if you have to, but don't push her. I laughed through that door. For the first time, I found Lu Yangju a stranger, and pathetic even now. His biggest worry was still Shen Ruowei getting criticized. He never asked me if I was hurting. Standing in that corner of the exhibition hall that day, he never asked me how it felt to see my own work signed by someone else. I opened the door. The chain was still on when Lu Yangju saw me. A flicker of exhaustion crossed his eyes. Wantang, he softened his voice. Have you had enough of this? I looked at him. Is that why you came? He took a deep breath. I admit, there were some things not handled well with this exhibition. I shouldn't have said those things in the interview, and I shouldn't have let Ruowei stand in front of the main painting. But you need to understand, I needed this show. If it succeeds, I can get into the year-end exhibition. Then I'll arrange a better one for you. Under whose name? He frowned. Stop fixating on the signature. Ruowei did contribute to the later stages of the creation. Later stages meaning tracing my drafts. Lin Wantang, he held back, suppressing his anger. Art isn't about keeping score like this. Your head's full of evidence, lawyers, compensation. Do you even look like an artist anymore? After hearing that, I felt strangely calm. Yes, I said, the most important thing an artist should know is that you can't steal a work. His face darkened. Is this how it has to be? Yes, and divorce. He stared at me. Have you thought that through? My fingers brushed lightly against the door chain. From the moment I took off that ring, I already had. A crack finally appeared in Lu Yenzhou's eyes. He seemed to expect me to cry, to argue, to threaten him with divorce to make him turn back. But when I actually said it, he looked like he didn't understand. Just because of one exhibition. No, I looked at him. Because you made me realize that being with you, I didn't just break my hand. He was silent after a long time. He said, you can't leave me. I smiled softly. Lu Yangju, the one who really can't let go, will find out soon enough. I closed the door. After that night, Lu Yangju started to fight back. He posted a long message on his moments. He didn't name me, but every word was aimed at me. He said artistic creation needs freedom, and marriage shouldn't be a cage. He said some people trap themselves in pain, and try to trap those around them too. He said his conscience was clear, and he was willing to bear all misunderstandings. The comments section was full of mutual friends comforting him. Someone said, Teacher Lu, you've been through so much. Someone else said, it's really hard taking care of a sick person. Don't let it drag you down. Another hinted, the hardest thing for an artist is when the people around Them don't understand. I read those words and didn't reply. Half an hour later, Shunruowei also posted a status. The photo showed her bent over her easel, painting. The caption read, "I just want to finish my work seriously, not hurt anyone. But if my existence makes others suffer, I'm willing to step back." The comments were full of sympathy. I stared at that photo for a few seconds, then I zoomed in. In the lower right corner of her easel, half a piece of paper was visible, blurry, but I recognized it. It was a sketch from my college days. I immediately screenshotted it and sent it to Shuning. Shuning replied, "This girl really isn't afraid of death." I said, "It's not that she's not afraid, she's just too used to taking my things." The next day, reporter Ju Minute contacted me. She said, "Teacher Lin, I'm the journalist who interviewed Lu Yangju on opening day. Do you have a moment to chat?" I asked, "About what?" She hesitated for a moment. "About the real source of inspiration for that exhibition." I didn't agree right away. "Why are you looking for me?" Ju Minute said. "Because on opening day, I captured some backstage footage. It was supposed to be B-roll. But now it seems like it might be related to you." She sent me a video. In the video, Lu Yangju stood in the exhibition's backstage area, with Shunruowei holding his waist. Lu Yangju said, "Don't worry, Wantang is useless now. She can't even hold a cup steady with that hand. What can she use to compete with you?" Shunruowei asked, "What if she finds out the paintings were modified from her drafts?" Lu Yangju let out a laugh. "She loves me. She'll endure it all in the end." The video ended there. I stared at the screen, my fingers ice cold. Turns out, the most painful thing isn't betrayal, it's that he knew my love too well. He treated my love as a resource he could overdraw again and again. Ju Minute sent another message. "Teacher Lin, if you're willing to respond, I can give you a full interview, unedited, no leading questions." I replied, "Not yet, Ju Minute." "Why?" I looked at the registration slip I'd retrieved from the exhibition's front desk. The ring was still in the gallery's safe. Sister Chin said that once the controversy was resolved, I could pick it up myself. I replied to Ju Minute, "I want them to finish telling their lies. Only when the lies are complete will the truth hurt enough when it's revealed." Shunruowei's livestream was scheduled for Friday night. The theme was a young artist's love and perseverance. She sat in a meticulously decorated little studio, with several unfinished works hanging behind her. The host asked, "Ruowei, after this exhibition, many people call you Lu Yenzhou's muse. What do you think?" Shunruowei lowered her head and smiled. "I wouldn't dare say that. Senior is a very talented person. I just accompanied him through a tough time." The host pressed, "What do you mean by tough?" She was silent for a few seconds, then her eyes slowly reddened. "Actually, Senior has been under a lot of pressure this past year. After his wife was injured, her mood has been unstable. Senior had to balance taking care of his family and creating his work. I'd see him still revising drafts in the studio late at night, and it really broke my heart." The comments exploded. "Oh my God, Lu Yangju is so devoted, taking care of an injured wife while still creating. It's not easy. Shunruowei is so gentle. No wonder she's a goddess." I sat at my apartment desk, calmly recording the screen. The host asked again, "So what moved you most in this exhibition's works?" Shunruowei picked up a notebook. "There's a line I've always loved. The hand isn't dead, it's just forced to stop halfway. True light will grow from the wound." She recited it slowly, as if it were a realization she'd truly come to herself. I hit pause. That was a letter I wrote to Lu Yangju after my car accident. The original line was, "My hand isn't dead, it's just forced to stop halfway. I'm afraid I'll never paint light again. But you said true light will grow from the wound." That letter, I only ever showed to Lu Yangju back then. He held me and said he'd keep it safe for me. Now, it had become Shunruowei's artistic insight on her livestream. I kept recording. Shunruowei said, "So I think love isn't about possession. Truly loving someone means wanting them to be free, wanting their talent not to be trapped by anything." The host sighed, "Including marriage." Shunruowei quickly waved her hands. "I didn't mean that. I have great respect for my sister-in-law. I hope she can let herself go too." I almost laughed out loud. She stole my paintings, stole my words, stole my husband, and now she was telling me to let myself go. Less than half an hour after the livestream ended, Lu Yangju messaged me. Ruowei was already very restrained. Don't get people to cyberbully her again. I replied with my first words in days. That letter, you showed it to her. The other side showed typing. A long pause, he replied. She just saw it by accident. Where did she see it by accident? Lin Wantang, do you have to make a big deal out of these little things? Little things. I set my phone face down on the table, then I opened a drawer and pulled out an old box. Inside were all my rehabilitation records from after the accident. At the bottom was a copy of that letter. The original was gone. I used to think I lost it when I moved. Now I knew it had probably ended up in Shin Ruowei's hands long ago. The next day, Juminit contacted me again. I watched the live stream. That line, was it yours? I said, yes. She said, I want to do a follow-up investigation. It's not gossip. It's about artistic attribution and the issue of female creators being encroached upon by intimate relationships. I didn't agree immediately. I asked her, can you guarantee you won't write me off as a bitter woman? Juminit was silent for a few seconds. I can't guarantee how everyone will interpret it, but I can guarantee that I'll present the evidence without exploiting your pain. That line moved me. I sent her some of the materials, not all of them. I still kept the most crucial pieces, because Liu Yangju hadn't been pushed to reveal his true hand yet, and Shin Ruowei hadn't started turning on each other either. 2 days later, the gallery's internal investigation results came out preliminarily. Qin Jie called me. Wantang, the situation is worse than we thought. I gripped my phone tightly. Qin Jie said, there are 13 works in this exhibition. 5 of them have core compositions that heavily overlap with your old drafts. 2 more directly use your unpublished color sketches from earlier years. When Liu Yangju submitted the materials, he said these were authorized by you for the team's reference. What about the authorization document? There is one. My heart sank. Qin Jie continued. The signature is yours. I closed my eyes. Send it to me. Soon, a scanned copy arrived in my email. The signature on the authorization letter did look like mine, but it wasn't signed by me because the date was the 20th day after the car accident. At that time, my right hand had just undergone its second surgery. I couldn't even hold chopsticks, and on the authorization letter, there was a smooth right-hand signature. I forwarded the file to Xu Ning. Xu Ning replied with just 4 words, forged signature. The nature of this matter changed. It wasn't just betrayal, it wasn't just plagiarism. Liu Yangju, in order to transfer my works and ideas to Shin Ruowei, had forged my authorization. I sat at the desk for a long time. Outside the window, the sky slowly darkened. I thought back to the 20th day after the accident. That day, Liu Yangju was in the hospital room with me. He held a wet cotton swab, gently moistening my lips. I couldn't sleep from the pain, so he held my left hand and said, Wantang, don't worry, I'll take care of your hand, and I'll take care of your works. So it was around that time he had already started signing for me. I printed out the authorization letter and placed it in the evidence folder. Then I dialed Xu Ning's number. Send the lawyer's letter. Xu Ning asked, to whom? Liu Yangju, Shin Ruowei, the gallery, the foundation. Send it to all of them. I paused, and apply for a handwriting authentication. On the other end of the line, Xu Ning let out a soft sigh. Wantang, it's going to hurt a lot. I looked down at my right hand. I know, but some rotten things, if you don't cut them out, will keep hurting forever. The day the lawyer's letter was sent, Liu Yangju finally panicked. He no longer used that tone of "Are you done making a scene?" He started explaining. Wantang, the authorization letter was a misunderstanding. You weren't in a good state at the time. I was just afraid of missing the exhibition submission deadline. So I went ahead and handled the process for you. I asked, so you admit the signature isn't mine? He immediately changed his tune. No, that's not what I meant, I said. Then we'll wait for the handwriting authentication. There was silence on the phone for a few seconds. His voice dropped. Does it have to be like this? We were husband and wife. Do you have to push me to the edge? I held the phone, looking at the movers packing up. The edge wasn't given to you by me. You paved it with my own hand. Today, I went back to the studio to move things out. Xu Ning accompanied me, and Qin Jie also arranged for gallery staff to be present as witnesses. All my original works, drafts, books, art supplies, and old computer were sealed in boxes. When Liu Yangju arrived, there were already over a dozen boxes piled at the door. His face turned pale. You're going to empty the studio. I'm moving out what's mine. This place was rented by both of us. I pulled out the lease agreement. The rent has always been deducted from my account. You only paid for the first 3 months. He was left speechless. Shinruowei showed up too. She wore a mask and hat, looking noticeably haggard. Recently, people online had started questioning her. Although Ju Min's investigative report hadn't been published yet, news about the gallery suspending works, the lawyer's letter, and the attribution dispute had already spread within the circle. As soon as Shinruowei entered, her eyes reddened. Sister-in-law, do you have to make things so ugly for everyone? I glanced at her. When you call me sister-in-law, doesn't it feel ugly to you? Her face paled. Lu Yangju stepped in front of her. Lin Wanting, don't target her. I handled the authorization. She had no idea. I pulled a photo from the box. It was a screenshot of Shinruowei's moments. Next to the easel in the photo was my college sketch. Why is my sketch in her studio? Shinruowei's eyes darted away. Senior gave me too many reference materials. I didn't know which were yours. I nodded, and reading my letter on the livestream, was that also a reference? Tears streamed down her face. I just thought that line was beautiful, so you took it and passed it off as your own pain. I stared at her. Shinruowei, the sickest part isn't that you steal, it's that after you steal, you still want people to feel sorry for how hard you had to work to take it. Her face flushed red. Lu Yangju snapped. Lin Wantang. I turned to him. Don't rush, it's not your turn yet. I pulled out another document. Starting today, the joint account is frozen. The supplementary card under your name is cancelled. The studio rent, your mother's follow-up care fees, and the mortgage payments you've been covering for your brother, I'm done paying. Lu Yenzhou's face finally changed. You froze the account. Yes, what gives you the right? The fact that 80% of the money in it came from my pre-marriage work earnings. The fact that you used that card to buy Shinruowei necklaces, rent apartments, and book hotels. Shinruowei snapped. Senior gave me those voluntarily, so I'm voluntarily stopping. She choked on her words. Just then, my mother-in-law burst in. She was probably called by Lu Yangju. The moment she entered, she pointed at me and cursed. Lin Wanting, you ungrateful wretch. Yangju has taken care of you all this time, and now that your hand's barely healed, you turn your back on him. I looked at her. How long did he take care of me? She froze. During your hospital stay, wasn't he running around for you? Who paid the hospital bills? Her eyes flickered. I answered for her. I did. Who paid for the nurse? She said nothing. Who paid for rehab? Who paid for the medicine? His so-called running around was coming to my hospital room for half an hour every night, taking a photo, posting it on Moments, and saying he was with me through recovery. Lu Yenzhou's face twisted. Now you're counting all that? Yes, I said, because you've always reminded me that family shouldn't keep score. Now I realize the ones who don't keep score are always the ones being drained. My mother-in-law shook with rage. Suddenly, she lunged at me. Xu Ning stepped in front of me. Mrs. Lu, think before you act. There are cameras here. Her hand froze mid-air. I didn't flinch. I just looked at her. You used to say that marrying into the Lu family was my blessing. Later, when Yangju got famous, you said I was the one who reached above my station. Now I don't want to reach anymore. You should be happy. Her face went from red to white. Lu Yangju lowered his voice. Wanting, don't burn all the bridges. I watched the movers lift the last box inside. Were my earliest set of brushes. Many were cracked, but they were mine. I said. Lu Yangju, from the moment you called Shinruowei your goddess at the exhibition, there was nothing left between us. As I walked out of the studio, Lu Yangju chased after me. He grabbed my sleeve, but didn't touch my hand. Wanting, I can apologize. I stopped for the first time. There was a hint of desperation in his eyes. I can say publicly that you contributed to those works. Will that do? I looked at him and suddenly understood. Even now, he thought I wanted contribution. He was willing to throw me a corner credit, willing to share a piece of what he stole. That was his apology. I pulled my sleeve back. I don't want contribution, I said. I want everything back. The divorce negotiation was set at Xu Ning's law firm. Lu Yangju brought his lawyer. He sat across from me, looking more haggard than a few days ago, but his eyes still clung to that shred of pride. He probably thought that as long as he sat At the negotiation table, everything could still be negotiated, the marriage could be negotiated, the works could be negotiated, even my pain could be priced. His lawyer spoke first. Ms. Lin, Mr. Liu agrees to the divorce but hopes both sides can handle it gracefully. Regarding the dispute over the works, Mr. Liu believes they were the result of creative synergy during the marriage and does not constitute malicious infringement. Shuning opened a file. Then let's start with the first piece of evidence. The authorization document is dated August 17th of last year. At that time, Ms. Lin was hospitalized. Her right hand was immobilized after surgery, and she could not have completed that signature. We have applied for a handwriting analysis and have hospital nursing records to prove it. The opposing counsel paused. Liu Yangju said coldly, "That was her verbal authorization." I looked up at him. "When did I give verbal authorization? You said I could handle your works." Handle means keep them safe for me, not hand them over to Shen Ruowei for her name. He stared at me. Lin wanting, "Are you really going to die on this hill?" "I'm not dying on anything." I slid the copy of the medical records forward. "It's the truth." Shu Ning continued with the second piece of material. The Youth Art Support Fund application project was titled after the broken hand, Lin Wantong's solo comeback exhibition, but the actual exhibition name, lead creators, work credits, and promotional direction all underwent major changes without Ms. Lin's written consent. "We will apply to the foundation for an investigation into the use of funds." Liu Yenzhou's lawyer's expression grew more serious. Liu Yangju finally couldn't sit still. "That money was awarded to me," I said. "The application reason was me. You're my wife, so you can use my injury to scam money." He stood up abruptly. Lin wanting, "Don't make it sound so ugly," Shu Ning coldly reminded him. "Mr. Liu, please watch your emotions. The entire meeting is being recorded." His chest heaved as he slowly sat back down. Next came the financial records. Shu Ning listed them one by one. Transfers to Shen Ruowei, rental expenses, luxury goods purchases, hotel bookings. Some of this money came from joint accounts. The more Liu Yangju listened, the paler his face became. His lawyer whispered a few words to him. Liu Yangju suddenly looked at me. "Wanteng, I admit I handled the money poorly, but you don't have to drag everything into legal proceedings. We have so many years of feelings between us. Don't you care at all?" I shot back. "When you were arm in arm with Shen Ruowei at the exhibition hall, did you care?" He closed his eyes. "That was just for appearances. And the hotel was for appearances too." His face changed. There was parking lot surveillance footage under the building of Shen Ruowei's apartment. Shu Ning had already retrieved some public area records. I didn't want to bring it out now, not because I was afraid, but because it wasn't necessary. Liu Yangju knew what he had done. He was just betting I wouldn't have the heart to expose him. Shu Ning slid a divorce agreement across the table. "Ms. Lin's demands are clear. First, divorce. Second, legal division of marital joint property. Third, Mr. Liu returns the joint property he disposed of without authorization. Fourth, publicly correct the work credits and stop using Ms. Lin's drafts, medical records, letters, and other personal materials for promotion. Fifth, bear corresponding compensation for the forged authorization and infringement." After the opposing counsel read it, his face was grim. Liu Yangju sneered. "So you want me to leave with nothing?" I calmly corrected him. "It's not leaving with nothing. It's giving back what doesn't belong to you." He looked at me and suddenly said, "And you, all these years, using my wife's identity, you've gotten plenty of exposure, haven't you?" I almost laughed. "Liu Yangju, who introduced you to your first provincial exhibition?" He said nothing. "Who funded your first solo exhibition?" He still said nothing. "The gallery you're working with now, who did you first meet there?" I looked at him. "You can deny that I loved you, but don't claim the meals you ate as your own harvest." When those words landed, the meeting room fell into a heavy silence. Liu Yenzhou's face sank bit by bit. Finally, he tore off the last shred of warmth. "Lin Wantang, do you think you can make it back into the art world without me? Your hand is ruined. Right now, people sympathize with you because you're my wife, because you're pitiful. Once the buzz fades, what can you still paint?" I slowly raised my right hand. My fingertips were still stiff, but I didn't hide them. Whether I can paint or not is my business. I looked at him. Whether you steal or not is yours. A flicker of malice passed through Lu Yenzhou's eyes. Then we'll see about that. With that, he stood up and left. Just before he walked out the door, he turned back. Don't forget, a lot of your original works are still in the exhibition hall storage. If this blows up into something ugly, no one will come out clean. The moment those words left his mouth, even his lawyer's face changed. Shuning immediately said, Mr. Lu, your statement just now constitutes a threat to damage disputed property. We've recorded it. Lu Yangju gritted his teeth and left after the door closed. Shuning looked at me. He's panicking. I nodded. He's afraid of the Foundation investigation. Shuning said, more than that, he's afraid you'll start painting again. I was taken aback. Shuning tucked my medical records into the folder. A man who lives off your light is most afraid of you shining on your own. 3 days later, the Foundation sent a notification. A public explanation meeting would be held regarding Lu Yenzhou's use of the support grant and the dispute over exhibition credits. Lu Yangju received it too that night. He sent me a long message. He said he was wrong. He said he was just under too much pressure, he said. Shun Ruowei was indeed young, but his feelings for her were more about responsibility. He said I was his wife. The last line was, wanting, don't come to the explanation meeting. As long as you don't show up, we still have a family. I stared at that sentence, then slowly deleted it and replied, Lu Yangju. A family isn't a place to hide stolen goods. On the day of the explanation meeting, a lot of people showed up, Foundation representatives, gallery directors, several media outlets, peers from the art circle, and some invited collectors. Lu Yangju was dressed formally. Shun Ruowei sat beside him, pale-faced, but still maintaining her fragile demeanor. When I arrived, the room fell silent for a moment. Many people looked at my right hand. I wasn't wearing a wrist guard. The scar was exposed. It ran from the inside of my wrist to the base of my palm. The color faded but still hideous. Lu Yangju saw my hand, and his eyes flickered. Maybe he didn't expect me to show it. I used to be terrified of people looking, afraid of pity, afraid of gossip, afraid of someone saying what a shame. Not anymore. This hand isn't my shame, it's the evidence of what they owe me. When the meeting started, the Foundation representative explained the situation first. Lu Yenzhou's lawyer made a statement. The gist was, the exhibition adjustments were normal artistic changes. Lin Wantang had misunderstandings due to her injury and marital conflicts. Lu Yangju was willing to add acknowledgements to Lin Wantang in future promotions. Additional acknowledgements. I heard that and lowered my head with a faint smile. When it was Lu Yenzhou's turn to speak, he stood up. His voice was still pleasant, gentle, restrained, with the dignity of an artist. Wantang and I are husband and wife. After she was injured, I accompanied her through rehabilitation and bore a lot of pressure. This exhibition did originate from the pain we experienced together, but during the subsequent completion, Ruowei put in tremendous effort. I didn't take anyone's work. I just tried to keep a creative project moving forward during a difficult time. After he finished, he looked at me. His eyes carried a hint of warning, like he was saying, don't make a scene. Shun Ruowei also stood up. Her voice choked. I know there are many misunderstandings about me from the outside, but I really never intended to take anything from anyone. I respect my sister-in-law deeply and have always seen her as a senior. If my presence makes her uncomfortable, I'm willing to withdraw from this exhibition. She cried just right. Some in the audience were moved. Whispers started. The girl seems pretty wronged too. Dragging marital issues here is really ugly. Can Lin Wanting still paint now? If not, it's normal for someone else to finish the work. I sat there, waiting for them to finish. The Foundation representative looked at me. Ms. Lin, you may speak. I stood up. My right hand hung by my side, fingertips slightly numb. Shuning connected the computer to the projector. I didn't start with the drafts. I started with the medical records. On the screen appeared my surgery records, rehabilitation reports, and doctor's evaluations. I said, the car accident happened on July 28 last year. My right wrist tendons were severed, and nerves were damaged. Lu Yangju told the public I couldn't continue creating, but the doctors never made that conclusion. The next page was the rehabilitation assessment. The doctor recommended that family encourage the patient to resume creating. not decide for the patient that she should quit forever. Lu Yenzhou's face changed. I continued, next, the grant application. The screen switched, the project name was clear. After the broken hand, Lin Wantong's personal comeback exhibition. The room buzzed. The foundation representative frowned. I said, Lu Yangju applied for a 300,000 support grant using my injury, my comeback, and my creative plan, but the actual exhibition became Hand of Rebirth, with Shun Ruowei as the lead creator. Shun Ruowei quickly said. I didn't know the grant application was written like that. I looked at her. You didn't know about the grant application, but do you know who wrote this sentence? On the screen appeared a clip from her livestream. She softly recited, a hand isn't death, it's just forced to stop halfway, true light grows from the wound. The next page was a letter I wrote to Lu Yangju after the accident, date, handwriting, content all there. The room fell completely silent. I said, this is a private letter I wrote to my husband. I never authorized anyone to use it publicly, let alone allowed Shun Ruowei to package it as her own creative inspiration. Shun Ruowei's face turned pale. I saw it by accident. I ignored her. I had Xu Ning release the third set of materials, drafts, from the initial hand-drawn line sketches to electronic scans to voice recordings. Every single one had a timestamp. Finally, the screen showed a side-by-side comparison. On the left, my draft of *Rebirth of the Hand from 3 months after the car accident. On the right, the main painting in the exhibition hall, signed by Shun Ruowei, almost identical compositions. Someone in the audience gasped. Sister Qin, as the gallery director, stood up. Her voice was heavy. After a preliminary review, the gallery confirms that at least 5 of the disputed works highly overlap with Ms. Lin Wantong's unpublished drafts. The authorization documents previously submitted to the gallery also raised doubts about the authenticity of the signatures. Lu Yenzhou's face went completely white. He snapped his head toward Sister Qin. What do you mean by that? Sister Qin didn't flinch. It means the gallery will cooperate with the investigation. Shun Ruowei panicked. Senior brother, didn't you say your wife agreed? As soon as those words left her mouth, everyone's gaze fell on Lu Yangju. Lu Yangju shot her a vicious glare. Too late. They were starting to turn on each other. I watched this scene, and I didn't feel a wild surge of satisfaction. I just felt that the long-delayed truth had finally landed on the table. I picked up the microphone. I'm not here today to fight for the title of Lu Yenzhou's wife, nor to make anyone pity my hand. I raised my right hand. The cameras on site focused on the scar. This hand was injured. But that doesn't give anyone the right to steal my work, exploit my pain, or make decisions for my life. I turned to the foundation representative. I formally request the withdrawal of all work authorizations that I haven't personally confirmed, demand a suspension of the exhibition, an investigation into the use of the prize money, and legal action for forged signatures and copyright infringement. Lu Yangju finally stood up. Lin Wantang. His voice trembled. Are you really trying to destroy me? I looked at him. You're wrong, I said. I'm just finally done living for you. The day the press conference ended, the gallery issued a suspension notice. *Rebirth of the Hand* was taken down. All disputed works were removed. The foundation simultaneously launched an investigation into the use of the prize money. Ju Min's investigative report went out that same night. The headline was calm. Whose wound became whose work. The report didn't sensationalize my marriage drama. It listed the evidence item by item: medical records, applications, drafts, live stream quotes, authorization doubts. The comments section started with gossip but quickly turned to outrage. So disgusting, using his wife's broken hand to apply for a grant, then handing it over to his junior sister. This isn't just cheating, it's stealing both the work and the pain. Shun Ruowei's livestream gave me chills, stealing someone else's letter and crying like she was the one hurt. Lu Yenzhou's devoted husband persona is completely shattered. Lu Yenzhou's studio account shut down comments. Shun Ruowei deleted all her posts. My mother-in-law called me. Her tone wasn't sharp anymore, just panicked. Wantang. Look, this thing has blown up so big, it's bad for everyone. Yangju knows he was wrong. He hasn't been able to eat or sleep for 2 days. Can't you two solve this behind closed doors? I was on my way to the gallery, I said, behind closed doors. He already solved it once. She didn't understand. What do you mean? He closed the door and stole my drafts, forged my signature, and used my injury to apply for the grant. She choked on the other end. I continued, now the door is open, and you think it's ugly. She started crying. Do you have to be so cruel? He's your husband. I looked at the streetscape rolling past the car window. Not for much longer. When I arrived at the gallery, there were quite a few reporters at the entrance. Sister Chin had arranged for someone to bring me in through the side door. In the main exhibition hall, workers were removing the paintings. The main wall that had once held *rebirth of the hand* was empty. Only a few nail holes remained. I stood there, looking at it for a long time. A few days ago, I was pushed into a corner here, watching Lu Yangju offer up my wound to someone else. Now the lights were still the same, the wall was still the same, but it was finally no longer shining for him. Sister Chin walked up to me, wanting, I'm sorry. I shook my head. You were deceived by them too, Sister Chin sighed. As the gallery director, I bear responsibility for the review, will handle the subsequent compensation and exhibition adjustments according to procedure. I asked, what about the ring at the front desk? Sister Chin paused for a moment, then quickly had a staff member retrieve it. The ring was in a transparent evidence bag along with the note I had written with my left hand that day. The handwriting was ugly, but every stroke was like a nail. As the staff handed the items to me, Lu Yangju burst in through the main entrance. He looked like he hadn't slept well, stubble poking out, eyes bloodshot. When he saw the ring in my hand, he stopped in his tracks. Wantang, his voice was hoarse. I handed the evidence bag to Xu Ning. Put this in the divorce papers too. Lu Yenzhou's face went pale. You're even using the ring as evidence. I looked at him. It proves I clearly expressed my intention to divorce on opening day. And it proves everything you said afterward about us being a loving couple was a lie. He stared at me like he was seeing me for the first time. When did you become like this? Same old line. I went quiet before. And he said I changed. I'm clear-headed now. And he still says I changed. But he never asked who made me this way. Lu Yangju took a step closer. I admit, I crossed a line with Ruowei. But that wasn't love. Wanteng, I was just too scared. I didn't say anything. He rushed to explain. After you got hurt, I looked at your hands every day and felt like we were done. You were so brilliant before, I couldn't keep up. Then when you couldn't paint anymore, I felt sorry for you. But I also felt relieved. I know it's despicable, but I couldn't help it. His eyes turned red. Ruowei looked up to me. She needed me. With her, I didn't feel like I was always beneath you. I listened calmly. This was probably the first time he told the truth. But the truth came too late and it was too dirty. I said, so you don't love her, and you don't love me. You only love the version of yourself that's looked up to. His lips trembled. Wantang, I was wrong. Let's start over. Okay, your hand can be rehabbed. I'll be with you. I'll give the exhibition back to you. I'll apologize publicly. Just don't divorce me. I looked at the empty main wall. Lu Yangju, you still don't get it. I do. I really do. No. I turned to him. You just realized the stolen goods won't stay yours. That sentence hit him like a slap. He stood there, frozen solid. Shen Ruowei showed up too. She stood at the door, looking even worse than Lu Yangju. The moment she saw me, she rushed over. Lin Wantang, Lu Yangju made me do all of this. Lu Yangju whipped around. Shen Ruowei, she broke down, screaming, it was you. You said she'd never paint again. You said those drafts were just going to waste. You told me to copy her style. You said once I made it big, you'd divorce her. The reporters' cameras instantly locked onto them. Lu Yenzhou's face turned ashen. Shen Ruowei sobbed messily. I just liked you. What did I do wrong? You said she was just a stepping stone for your career. The crowd buzzed. I stood a few steps away. And suddenly this whole mess felt disconnected from me. They were scrambling to prove who was more innocent, but no one was truly innocent. Sister Chin had security separate them. Xu Ning asked quietly, want to leave? I nodded. As I left the exhibition hall, I passed the front desk again. That day, I'd left the ring there, like I was letting go of my last shred of hope. Now, I didn't look back. The light outside was bright. Professor Cheng Jiyuan called me. He only said one thing. Wanteng, come back and hold an exhibition. This time, it'll only have your name on it. Professor Cheng's small gallery was in the west of the city, not big, just 2 floors. The first floor faced the street, and the second had amazing natural light. The first time I went, sunlight fell on the blank walls like a canvas waiting to be painted. Professor Cheng was 70, hair completely white. But still stubborn as ever. His first words when he saw me were, "Show me your hands." I obediently held out my right hand. He looked at the scars, then at my fingertips. "They can still move." My nose stung. Over the past year, too many people had looked at my hands and only said, "What a shame." Only the professor said they could still move. He pointed at the wall. "Got a name for the exhibition?" I said, "After the broken hand." He nodded. "Don't hide. The more you hide, the more they'll use your pain to tell stories." I started preparing for my comeback exhibition. It wasn't a big commercial show, and I wasn't chasing hype. I just want to hang the pain, the struggle, the failure, and the restart that truly belonged to me that year back under my own name. The preparation process was harder than I imagined. My right hand wouldn't obey. It would start shaking after holding a pen for more than 10 minutes sometimes. Right after I mixed the paint, my wrist would suddenly cramp. The palette knife would fall to the floor, and it would stain an entire piece of cloth. I broke down too. One night, I sat on the floor, staring at the ruined canvas, and suddenly felt like crying. Not because of Lu Yangju, it was because I finally admitted to myself that I could never go back to how I was. Xu Ning came to see me. She crouched down to help me pick up the palette knife. "Do you want to take a break?" I shook my head. "I'm not trying to prove I'm the same as before." I looked at the stained canvas. "I want to know what I can still paint now." A week before the comeback exhibition, the first mediation for the divorce took place. Lu Yangju had lost a lot of weight. He was no longer as sharp as before. When he saw me, he stood up and tried to pull out a chair for me. I avoided it. The mediator asked if there was any possibility of reconciliation. Lu Yangju immediately said, "Yes." I said, "No." He looked at me, his voice hoarse. "Wanting, I've already cut ties with Shen Ruowei. She'll take responsibility for what she's done. I can make a public apology, return all the artwork credits to you, and pay compensation. As long as you're willing, we don't have to get divorced." I looked at him. "Do you think marriage is an exhibition? Take down the wrong painting, rearrange it a bit, and it can just go on." Pain flickered in his eyes. "I know you hate me. I don't hate you anymore." He froze. I said, "Hating you means I have to keep looking at you. I don't want to look anymore." The mediation didn't succeed. Lu Yangju wouldn't agree to the divorce terms, especially not to publicly admitting the forged authorization. He said it would ruin his career. Xu Ning said coldly, "Mr. Lu, you should have thought of that when you forged the signatures." Leaving the courthouse, it started to rain. I held my umbrella and walked out. Lu Yangju caught up. Wanting, I stopped but didn't turn around. He stood in the rain, his voice scattered by the downpour. "I really regret it." I had waited for those words many times. When I woke up from the car accident, I waited for him to regret rushing me out the door. The first time I noticed Shen Ruowei always by his side, I waited for him to regret crossing the line. On the day of the exhibition, I stood in the corner, maybe a last shred of hope in my heart that he would turn and look at me. But he didn't. Now he says he regrets it, but I no longer need it. I turned to look at him. "Lu Yangju, regret isn't compensation." His eyes reddened. "Then what do you want me to do?" "Take responsibility." I said, "Take responsibility for what you stole, what you lied about, what you betrayed," not kneeling in front of me saying a few words of regret and then expecting me to swallow the consequences for you. He stood there, rooted to the spot. I walked away with my umbrella that night. He went to my studio. I didn't let him in. He stood downstairs all night. The next morning, I went downstairs to buy coffee and saw him leaning against the wall, soaked through, holding an old box. "These are your letters." He handed the box to me. "The originals." I didn't take it. He said, "Ruowei took them, but later gave them back. I never dared to give them to you." I looked at the box. Inside were the pieces of evidence of me still believing in him during my most painful moments. I finally took it, but not to forgive, to file away. Lu Yangju said softly, "Wanting, you once said that if I ever went down the wrong path, you would pull me back." I looked up at him. "I did." His eyes trembled. "You didn't turn back." I walked past him and went upstairs. This time, he didn't follow. The night before the comeback exhibition, my right hand suddenly hurt so much I couldn't hold the brush. There was still one last stroke left on the canvas. It was a self-portrait. The painting didn't show a complete hand, just a scarred wrist bone with very thin branches growing beside it. I tried 3 times, the brush fell each time. I sat in front of the canvas, sweating from the pain. Teacher Cheng called, heard the strain in my voice, and said directly, "Hang it even if it's unfinished." I said, "There's still 1 stroke left. So what? After a broken hand, you shouldn't pretend to be whole." I looked at the canvas. After a long time, I picked up the brush with my left hand, not to finish the job for my right hand, but to tell myself that I could take a different path. That last stroke was very slow, a little crooked, but it landed. On the day of the comeback exhibition, the weather was beautiful. At the entrance of the exhibition hall, there was no red carpet, no over-the-top flower baskets, and none of the bustling media spectacle that accompanied Lu Yangju, but plenty of people came, old friends, teachers, journalists, people who had once collected my work, and strangers who had heard about the controversy and came specifically to see the exhibition. The exhibition title hung at the entrance, "After the Broken Hand," signed, Lin Wantang. I stood at the door, staring at those words for a long time. Sister Chin arrived. She brought the gallery's official resolution. Lu Yenzhou's exhibition was cancelled. The gallery terminated its collaboration with Shunruowei, and all controversial works were sealed pending further copyright determination. The foundation also issued a notice, demanding Lu Yangju return the improperly used portion of the grant and suspending his eligibility for related project applications for 3 years. Shunruowei was under investigation by the school. Her involvement in plagiarism, using someone else's private letters, and false advertising was enough to make it hard for her to hold her head up in this circle again. Lu Yangju didn't show up, but he sent a bouquet. The card read, "Wanting, I'm sorry, wishing you a fresh start." I glanced at it and asked the staff to put the flowers outside the door, not thrown away, not accepted, just placed outside. That was his place. After the exhibition started, Ju Minute arrived. She stood in front of my self-portrait for a long time. That painting was called unfinished. Someone asked me, why not make the last stroke a little smoother? I looked at the crooked line in the painting, because it was never smooth. The person froze. I smiled. I don't want to paint wounds like decorations anymore. Throughout the entire exhibition, the most attention wasn't on the reborn hand. It was a series of small paintings. The images were simple: a hand that couldn't hold a pen, then barely drew a line, then knocked over paint, then started painting again. Next to each one was a date. No melodrama, no inspirational quotes, just the real traces left during the recovery process. Teacher Cheng stood in the corner, arms crossed, watching for a long time, and finally said, "Not bad." I knew that was his highest praise. At 3 in the afternoon, Xu Ning sent me a message. Lu Yangju agreed to the divorce terms, public apology, copyright compensation, property return, all signed. I stared at those words, feeling very calm inside. No ecstatic joy, no sadness either. It felt like an old house I'd lived in for a long time. Finally finishing the move-out procedures, there had been lights, the smell of home-cooked meals, and also dampness and mold. But now, the keys were handed over. I was free. In the evening, the crowd in the exhibition hall thinned out. I walked to the front desk. A guest book lay there. Someone wrote, feeling sad after seeing it, but also very empowered. Someone wrote, "Thank you for not hiding your wounds." Another wrote, "So starting over doesn't mean going back to how you were." I flipped to the last page and picked up a pen. My right hand was still unsteady. I slowly wrote my name, Lin Wantang. 3 characters, crooked but complete. After finishing, I looked up toward the end of the exhibition hall. Sunset streamed in through the window, falling on that unfinished painting. The hand in the painting had clear scars, uneven lines, even a bit of a mess, but it wasn't hanging down. It was still reaching forward. My phone buzzed. It was the last message from Lu Yangju. "Wantang, if that accident hadn't happened, would we have been different?" I stared at it for a long time, then I replied, "No." Soon, he sent another. "Why?" I didn't reply again because the answer was too clear. The accident only broke my hand. What truly broke us was him calculating my worth when I was in the most pain. It was him treating my sacrifice as leverage, my silence as permission, my love as an inexhaustible resource. Even without that accident, There would have been another moment. He would always, one day, choose someone he could look up to more, and I would always, one day, see that I shouldn't kneel in love anymore. After the exhibition ended, I stayed behind alone to turn off the lights. A staff member asked me, "Teacher Lin, should we cover up the main wall painting first?" I looked at unfinished. "No need," I said, "let it stay lit." When I walked out of the exhibition hall, it was already dark. The glass door reflected my silhouette, no wedding ring, a scar on my right hand, my left hand carrying painting supplies. I suddenly remembered the day the exhibition opened. I had also walked out through a glass door back then. Behind me were applause, betrayal, and the goddess he dedicated to someone else. Behind me, the exhibition hall still stands, but my name hangs on the wall. I don't look back again. The wind on the street is gentle. I raise my right hand and slowly clench it. It hurts, but I can hold it. My hand is still on my body. My name has finally returned to me.